Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast. This Week in America. It's Our World Too by Daniel Acosta-Walz is a beautifully illustrated children's book that can be an educational experience shared by all family members, becoming a platform for discussions with our children to educate them on the importance of our environment and the amazing creatures that call our planet their home. It's Our World Too shows us the relationship with the animal kingdom, that we are all one in one world, rely on each other. Our actions affect the world around us. Daniel Acosta-Walz, husband of author, illustrator Patrick Acosta, was born in San Pablo, California. Daniel has always felt a strong connection to spirit and nature. In 1988, he met his husband Patrick. They moved to Oregon to start a new life together and continue his quest for a deeper understanding and connection with God and the world we live in. Because of their love of nature, Daniel and Patrick volunteered at the Audubon Society in Portland. Daniel volunteered in the Wildlife Rehab Center. This evolved into him working for the Avian Medical Center as a vet tech working with exotic birds. Later, Dan and Patrick moved to Vancouver, where Dan volunteered at Cascade Aid Project, assisting people living with AIDS, HIV. He currently is the lead trainer for an agency dedicated to daily care and support for individuals with developmental disabilities. Back with us on This Week in America, Daniel Acosta-Walz, author of It's Our World Too. Daniel, welcome back to the program. It's great to have you back with us.
It's awesome to be here.
You know, you've done it again with this book. The first book we talked about was Gabriel of Noah's Ark, and we'll mention that. And that book available at the website we'll give you, which has Daniel's books. This one is so important, especially now. What was the motivation to write this book, It's Our World Too?
Well, Patrick and I, had, when we met, one of the connections was the environment. We love the environment, and we moved to Oregon and started volunteering, and it felt it was so important, working with wildlife and the habitats in which they live and the dwindling habitats. And if, our, animal friends don't have a place to live, well, the habitats are an important part of that. And if the habitats can't sustain the animal kingdom, it can't sustain us as well. And as it's dwindling, we're losing beautiful, wonderful creatures that share the world with us. And it's sad to see that. And so that connection with nature, we're all one. We're all interconnected. Yes. We all share this planet.
That's so important to be good stewards of the animals and their habitats. I see that so often in Florida where they're constantly building, and animals are losing the habitat. I see that in our neighborhood, which has developed since we've lived here. We don't see turtles like we used to. We don't see a lot of the wildlife. Is habitat something we overlook? We think, okay, we'll take care of the animals, but we're going to tear down where they live so we can build condominiums.
Absolutely. And, if they don't have a place to call their home, put them in a zoo is not, healthy or natural, or they're not happy in a zoo. They need to be in a natural wildlife where they can flourish. And we've seen that, it is not sustainable for them, just to be locked in a zoo. They need to have a place to live.
Our guest on the program back with us is Daniel J. Acosta-Walz. He is the author of the book, It's Our World Too, a children's book. The book available, acostabooks.com is his website. Information on all of his books there. Of course, at Amazon, yourlinkpublishing.com. And we'll give you all of this throughout the program. And you'll link on directly to Daniel's website by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Let's talk about the illustration. Like the other book we talked about, Gabriel of Noah's Ark, beautifully illustrated, and a special significance. The illustrator was your partner in this. Talk about Patrick and the job he did on this book.
Well, Patrick, his passion was illustration and art, and he would draw constantly. Then after the drawings, he'd make stories. It wasn't the other way around. It wasn't making the stories, then the drawings. He would illustrate and draw, and then he would come up with the stories. And It's Our World too. He sat down and again, back when we were really working with volunteering with wildlife about, nature. And so he came up with the illustrations, beautiful illustrations, and some very deep topics. And he asked me to sit down and, put words to it. And so that's what happened. And came up with It's Our World too.
This book is such a touching book for young readers. It's good for adults as well as if we're going to read to a young person. This is good. We'll all get some information and maybe get what we know already reinforced in the book. It's Our World too. Beautifully illustrated. This is a wonderful addition to a family library. And again, it's available AcostaBooks.com, Amazon, all of the usual places. Daniel, what do you hope the readers take away from reading It's Our World too? What are some of the messages you hope that will resonate long term for them?
Well, I hope to see that, we have to act, and act now. It's been an issue for such a long time, and understanding that we have that connection and we need to save and protect, love our animal kingdom. It allows, parents to have a conversation with their kids and their family. It's simply written for children to understand, but it opens up the door for deeper conversations and understanding. Kids have a wonderful way of being able to take in information and complex topics if you have a discussion with them. And this opens up that door for people to have that discussion with their children and to understand the importance of our environment, importance of the animal kingdom, how precious our animal kingdoms are, how beautiful and diverse. And we all need to open up that conversation at an early age and understand that what we do has an impact on, everybody, our environment, our animal kingdom, and eventually down to us as human beings.
You do a wonderful job, Patrick, with the pictures, you with the text. This book is different than a lot of the other books out there. Talk about what makes this book, It's Our World too, maybe a little unique, different than some of the other books.
Well, again, it really opens up that door. It's not kind of dancing around the topic of the environment. It just opens up that door to the kids. It has the beautiful illustrated pictures that are on there, and that also that they can listen and to the story and have that conversation. It's not just a fun little kids book. It has educational purpose to it, as well as a wonderful illustrations and story.
No, it's got the entertainment aspect because it's so well done and it carries this very important message. Why is educating children on the topic? Why is that so essential?
Well, of course, we need to make sure that, our kids at an early age understand that, so that as they're growing up, they make decisions and choices in their lives that help to influence them as an adult. And again, it's a very good conversational topic for parents and their children to open it up and have that conversation and to be able to educate children on the environment and children.
The book is It's Our World too by Daniel J. Acosta-Walz. I'm going to spell it now, and then at the end, so if you're Googling, you'll be able to find Daniel. Acosta is Acosta-Walz, W-A-L-Z. The book is AcostaBooks.com. That's the website, ACOSTA Books, BOOKS.com. Go to our website. You'll be able to link on directly there. Let's go back and focus on this, children. Is this, you think, the key? Adults, we sort of heard this message, been hearing it for a long time. Some of us try to heed the message. Others think we are, but obviously we're not, because the environment is very fragile right now. Is the key to success here with children, is this where we can maybe turn this around?
I certainly hope so. We see that kids more nowadays, they're, with technology and everything, they just seem to be like hyper intelligent in some ways. And in being able to, educate them And we see more kids these days more sensitive to their environment than in the past, and continue to do that as we go forward into the future. Our kids today are our future, and then their kids. And so we need to start now, and continue to do what we have been doing, is being informative to children about important issues. And the environment is an important issue. As I said, it's more important now than ever.
Is it too late? Every day it seems like I'm reading an environmental alert from one of the newspapers talking about maybe we've gone too far with something in our environment that we've neglected or ignored. I guess you could choose either word. They both would apply in some cases. Are we late in the game to make these changes to save the environment, to save the animals around us?
Well, our Earth, Mother Earth, is extremely strong if given the chance to recover, and gone through a lot of changes, for millions of years of disasters and comets and all that kind of stuff. And if given the chance, can turn around. But if we don't make the changes now, the longer we wait to change, the longer it's going to take for Mother Nature, for Earth to heal.
Yes.
It's it's never too late to start.
Well, that's why this book is so important as it reaches young people. It's Our World Too by Daniel Acosta-Walz. The other book I mentioned, Gabriel of Noah's Ark. Both are available at Daniel's website. Were you planning on becoming an author and publish books? You've done such a wonderful job taking these important topics, breaking them down visually and verbally, text-wise for young readers. Did you ever think maybe 10, 15 years ago you'd be an author and a published author?
This is not where I planned on being. It really wasn't. Growing up, I love to tell stories, like to write stories. And then through the years, I've had great ideas and, in my head, but never really, put them down on paper and stuff. And meeting Patrick, it kind of, motivated me to think about it. But he was the one that was supposed to be doing all this. He was the illustrator and author and stuff like that. And he was the one that this was his thing. But as life happens, it doesn't always turn out as we planned. And so after his passing, I, took up the torch. This is something we were to do together. Now I'm doing it, physically by myself. I know he's here with me in spirit, but it was not what I planned to do, and so it's a new adventure for me. I'm very, happy that I'm able to do that for Patrick, as well as then have the possibility to nurture my talents in writing. That's something that's been kind of way in the back for years, now has been brought to the forefront. It's a new adventure, and I'm always up to new adventures.
Well, you're really good at this. Have you always been interested in writing?
I loved words and writing. It hasn't always been easy for me. I have dyslexia, so words aren't always the best thing to put down on paper. But I've always loved stories and writing, and this allows me to do that. Technology helps me with, the other issues and making sure that everything's right. But it is able to be to express a part of me that has always been in there, but I didn't think I'd be able to do.
Talk about the decision to write children's books. I think it takes a special talent to take a message and to, I'm sure, work it over several times to take it down to the level that it's entertaining, so you keep a young child's attention, but meaningful, impactful, and something that they can relate to in words and phrases that they can understand. What are the challenges in writing a children's book, and why did you and Patrick decide to do children's books?
Well, Patrick was a kid at heart. He was a kid at heart. And it kept me young and alive. It was, and we love kids. Patrick and I we volunteered and worked with youth programs and actually educating about the environment. And so we knew that if you just relate to them, that you have that connection and relate, that you can teach them almost anything. they're sponges, and you can teach them anything, and just have to be able to do it in a way that they can relate. And it's not, treating them like a child. It's talking to them in a way that they understand,
Yes.
that motivates them and excites them.
Yeah, so often you see when people are writing for young people, they think they write for young people like they're supposed to write for young people, and they don't give them credit for the intelligence that they have. And you don't talk down; you talk to them in taking this message to them. What is next for you? These two books are remarkable books, receiving excellent reviews. It's Our World 2, the book we're featuring today. The other book, Gabrielle of Noah's Ark, both available at acostabooks.com. I'll give you that as we wrap up our conversation. What's next for you?
Well, the next book that I'm working on right now, I was hoping to get it out by the end of this year, but has had some of its challenges. Is some short stories that Patrick had illustrated and started to write. And they're about some of the birds that we used to work with when I worked for the Avian Vet. After that, we worked with the private bird collection, and there's these birds that we worked with, and he wrote these short stories. And they're wonderful little short stories and illustrated, but unfinished. So right now, I am putting all these short stories together into a book, Patrick's illustrations and me completing the writings. And they're little short stories with great morals and meaning behind them for children. And that's my next project. Hopefully I can get that out sometime next year.
That'll be fantastic, and we'll be looking forward to that. A few minutes left in the program. Let's talk about the experience that you and Patrick had in working as a volunteer, in this case with birds, and talk about that work and what that meant to you and how fulfilling that is to be able to help these birds that most of us walk by and totally ignore. How fulfilling is that to have that connection and to be a part of their lives, and in many cases make life better for them and let them exist?
Well, I would say that was probably the best, most fulfilling part of my life. We work together. Unfortunately, it's volunteering, so you don't get paid, so you couldn't do it forever. But it was really able for us to get out into nature, to make a difference, educating children, as well as, working. I worked in the care center, working with injured wildlife and helping them to, be re-released. I had the opportunity to work with many beautiful birds. I was able to work with a golden eagle, wow, which was a magnificent creature, huge, but extremely beautiful. And it's so fulfilling to be able to take an animal and have it to be re-released and see it going back to nature where it belonged, and educating people about the environment and feeling that you are making an impact. It was probably the most fulfilling, and I recommend anybody, to volunteer, because that's where you find your passions. And each time I volunteered, it worked into a career, and that is where you do follow your heart, follow your passion, and everything else just seems to fall into place.
Well, and your life is like that. I mentioned in the beginning the background that you had and that Patrick had. And when you work with animals, I'm sure you develop an attachment, sort of a bond, don't you, with these animals?
Oh, absolutely. And animals, they have a personality, well or not.
Yes.
They have a personality, and you get attachment. You feel that love, and help that animal to heal, overcome fear, but you get attached, and you feel such joy to see them go back into their habitat.
We've done that with rabbits in the backyard, even name them. And if we go a day and we don't see them come for their carrots at night, we wonder what happened to them. It's almost like having an extended family, or feeding squirrels at the park here. I swear they recognize us when they come in and they come up for their daily dose of nuts. So that really helps if you're having a bad day and you go out and spend some time with the animals, it turns your day around, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
A minute or so left here. You said something before that I think so much of us in the busy world, me included, take for granted. The world is filled with beauty all around us. Do we sometimes go through life looking straight ahead? We don't look up, we don't look down, we don't look to the side, and we miss a lot of the beauty that's part of our lives.
Yeah, we need to take the opportunity that, Sage says, stop and smell the roses.
Yes.
And that's what we need to do. We are just focused on our lives. It's stressful. We, are kind of tunnel vision most of the time. But we need to take the time just to slow down, to look around us, go outside of our daily routine and see what's around us. Go outside the box and see what's there. It's there if we look for it.
Just look up when you go outside from time to time and see what you see flying overhead and just enjoy the beauty of nature. Daniel, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Our guest is Daniel Acosta-Walz. That's ACOSTA-WALZ. His website is acostabooks.com. The book today we talked about specifically, It's Our World Too. His other book is Gabriel of Noah's Ark. And I mentioned another book he's working on. You can follow his progress on that and order the book when it's available at his website. You'll find books at Amazon, urlinkpublishing.com, and link on to all of those by going to our website. Daniel, a pleasure. Hopefully we can do this again on the new book next year, which will be here before we know it, the way this year is going. Thank you for being with us on the program. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
It has been our pleasure. Daniel Acosta-Walz. The book is It's Our World Too. His website, acostabooks.com. Link on directly by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. And we're back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.